In my opinion, Pedro Pascal is a creep. At least when it comes to how he deals with women. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Pedro Pascal, I'm sure you know who he is. I'm sure you've got Pedro fatigue like we all do. This bloke seems to be in every movie at the moment, but he's doing some weird stuff. He's overly touchy, no one's suggesting he's doing anything illegal, but it's just a little creepy. Pedro! Just getting a bit it looks like she's uncomfortable, right? She'd know about being creeped out because here's a photo of her wife. Yeah, this is really her wife. This is Willem Dafoe's wife. Did you see that? Let's replay that bit. What the fuck is that?
These are gorgeous. I think that's my favorite image so far.
Just our hands.
Yeah. As long
That
as
was
you
our
don't have
very
to
first
see,
day
as
as
long as
well.
you don't have to see my face.
Okay, let me interject. This is definitely him not being creepy. This is her being creepy. By the way, she has a husband.
Terrible confession to make in front of Gordon.
That's like really lovey-dovey, right?
It's because some of the best men in the world, so they don't count.
There is a connection here. It's almost like, I don't know if they are secretly doing something, but it looks certainly that way. And here they are again. Look how close they're getting to each other, just staring into each other's eyes. For fuck's sake, guys. Funnily enough, here he is with his co-star in The Last of Us, Bella Ramsey. There's a bit of distance there. Can't imagine why.
Where have you been?
I've been busy.
I know, baby.
Answering questions about
I don't know, man. This is fucking weird, don't you think?
we need it.
Come on. Very codependent, very codependent.
The reason he says that he does this is that he suffers from anxiety. And something that I didn't know, as someone who has had many problems with anxiety over the past decade or so, I didn't know we could do this shit. I didn't know you could just touch people and blame your anxiety, because he says he has social anxiety, and he does this because, he feels anxious, and by, touching people and licking people's ears, it's a great way to feel better. I thought you just had to sit there in your own mind going, Christ! Turns out all of that could have been avoided if I just went up and randomly touched someone. Now, yes, he knows these people, and I imagine there is permission, there's consent given, but still, it just looks weird, dude. There's one, though, and he's been getting a lot of hate, Pedro, and I think that is because he's been pushed so hard by Hollywood and stuff. He's been getting a lot of hate. Maybe he doesn't deserve it. Maybe he does. I don't know. I don't really give a shit. I just think it's funny to talk about. There's one clip, though, of the same lady, I think, and she is holding hands with him, as they often do, even though they're not a couple, that I think isn't too weird. And I think this is a good example of perhaps him having a severe anxiety episode or a panic attack, and she's actually helping. So here they are, they're at Comic-Con, and he's a bit stressed, I guess, and she reaches back and holds his hand. There's been other times where audio's been captured and he's talking to like Bella Ramsey, for example, and he's got his hand over his chest, and she says something, he goes, oh, my anxiety's right here. Now, anxiety is a very difficult issue to deal with for a lot of people. It is different in all types of people, and I don't want to take away from the fact that his brain is fucking carrying on like a dickhead at different moments in time, like a lot of our brains do. Another person that suffers from anxiety that you may not know about is Hathor Bjornsson, or the Mountain from Game of Thrones. This is how anxious he was around Pedro Pascal not too long ago. Wow. Anxiety is a tough beast to deal with. What I don't think would exist, though, is the amount of defense that is being put out there for Pedro. A lot of people are saying this is what we want men to be like. We need men to show their feelings, and we need to do this. I don't think this would happen if, say, it was Harvey Weinstein or someone that looked like Harvey Weinstein was saying these things, that he gets anxious, and that's why he gets up and close and personal with people that he's around. I don't think people would be okay with it. And the reason that I don't think people would be okay with it is this: because women are just as shallow as men. You may sit out there, ladies, thinking you're all high and mighty. You're not. You're just as bad as us. And if someone's ugly, you don't want them touching, okay? Pedro's a bit of a heartthrob. He's this fucking little unassuming, non-scary bloke. And he also is very much a feminist ally. And you know what happens with male feminists, ladies and gentlemen? They are the ones to be avoided. Every single male feminist out there there's just something. It's just something that you just go, ugh, gross. Like any lady who marries or dates or gets with a male feminist, you need to pick better men. Like, that's just shit house. That's gross. What does Pedro have to say about people hating on him? Well, this is what he says about people having a bit of a go at him for some of the shit that he said. I'll never shut up. That's what Pedro Pascal has had to say about critics of his when it comes to the things that he deeply cares about. In between self-promotion for his latest projects, the Chilean American uses his fame to highlight causes he cares about, like wearing Protect the Dolls t-shirts, posting about food blockades, and non-profit organizations, Doctors Without Borders, and the Trevor Project on his Instagram. Now, the Protect the Dolls thing, I think that has to do with trans people and has something to do with him having a trans sibling. Here he is wearing it alongside other people wearing the Protect the Dolls t-shirt. What is it about? Well, the designer of the t-shirt has said that protection for our trans friends should be a given. I can't think of a single right that a trans person doesn't have. So maybe this article will enlighten me. From reading this, it has a lot to do with the UK Supreme Court ruling that the definition of a woman is based on biological sex. And that's sent all of Hollywood into disarray because they can't believe that science exists. And so because Pascal has a sister called Lux who came out as trans in 2021, he's been involved with this argument. He called out J.K. Rowling, writing heinous loser behavior on Instagram. Okay, bro. It's funny, Pedro seems to be a male feminist, except when it goes against something that he believes, and then he calls out women for being heinous losers. Pedro also hates Trump supporters. He's a very progressive, woke individual. I'm sure he has opinions that would make all of us sit in our little chairs at home and go, ugh, gross. Shut the fuck up, mate. For most of us, anyone on this earth that is worth their weight usually doesn't listen to the mainstream media, doesn't listen to Hollywood and all that type of stuff. But there are still people out there that eat that shit up. Your auntie, your mum, your cousin who's fucking single and alone. All of those type of people eat this shit up. They're like, Pedro's saving the world. Pedro's amazing. But most of us are sitting here going, fuck off, Pedro. Take some time, because he was a good actor. In Game of Thrones, he was great. Who did he fucking play? What was his name? Someone. Who gives a shit? He was dressed nice and had a cool accent. All right? He was really, really cool in Game of Thrones. And The Last of Us had so much potential. Unfortunately, like the second version of the game, it went to shit. But anyway, he is a good actor. It's just people are sick of hearing about him and sick of seeing him. And then, so when something like this comes up, and even though it looks weird and it looks creepy, it's all, I imagine, everyone has consent and it's all cool, right? So it's not an actual problem, but it's just for everyone sitting at home. They're like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Everything stinks about Pedro. Everything that comes out of his mouth, it seems like it's been written by a publicist, and that seems to be the real problem with this. Anyone who is fucking switched on doesn't believe him. We know he's full of shit. Pedro's a good actor, okay? He seems like a half-decent person, but he's caught up in this Hollywood shit. He's part of the machine, and he needs to just shut the fuck up. If you can learn anything from this part of the video, don't vote for Pedro, all right? Fuck him. Continuing on with the, what I think is fake wokeness, a straight white author's career finally takes off. Well done. We might get a straight white guy in a TV commercial soon, and then we're back, baby. After he tells a woke publisher that he's genderqueer Nigerian, which I also identify as. It's a good time. A poet called Aaron Barry. Why does Aaron have two A's? It's fucking stupid. Said his career skyrocketed within the liberal literacy scene, which is where everyone wants to succeed, by taking on minority personas to promote his work to publishers. That's hilarious. Aaron Barry, 29, of Vancouver, Canada, experienced the most success when he posed as writers with identities far from his own, even if his poems were blatantly, in quotes, trash. His reasoning behind this was simple: to prove the poetry world is more concerned with the writers' identities than the quality of their work. And this can be expanded into everything, okay? Whether it's comedy, whether it's movies, whether it's music, whatever. People are more concerned with the political leaning of the person involved, what they identify as, how they, all that shit, what they get up to in their spare time, what their view is on the Middle East, rather than the actual work they're putting forth. Even in Australia, it is completely legal and it's common practice for companies to only want to hire Indigenous people into their jobs because they want more Indigenous people employed. And now, hey, great concept, great idea. That's all wonderful, but isn't it a fucking backhander? Isn't it just real demeaning for you as one of those people or whoever you are in whatever body you happen to be in? Do you really want to be picked just because of how you appear or who your great-great-grandparents were? Why? That doesn't seem good at all. There is dozens of comedians in Australia and throughout the world that only get spots on TV, only get sponsorships, only get the big comedy festivals and picked by these agents because of their gender or what ethnicity they are. They are not good enough to make it in the realm themselves or put their work out there in the comedy world and get picked by the audiences that all of these powers that be have to pick them based on the fact that they are a minority. And where is the joy in that? Would you feel... I know as a comic, if I was only picked because of how I looked, I'd be like, well, that's fucking shit. Why the fuck? Why? I want to be good at the job. I don't want to just get picked because of how I look. From 2023 to 2024, Barry had managed to fool 30 respected literary journals around the globe and got about 50 of his nonsensical poems published. He published dozens of pieces as Adele Nwoko, a gender-fluid member of Nigerian diaspora, including one titled Coming Out, a wrestling promo. One of the first poems to kicks off with a Toni Morrison quote. I don't know who the fuck that is, or am I supposed to know who that is? About navigating a white male world, and features lines such as voodoo pratique sata oil drip drip. What? Another one of Barry's characters, BH Fiend, whose pronouns are its/complicated, was actually nominated for a 2025 Best of the Net Award. The intro to the award-winning piece titled Shakespeare's Cum Slut reads, "To, ? Or not to, William Shakespeare's Little Cum Slut?" That is the question. What the fuck is this? A lot of people are extremely mad at old Aaron Barry, but I would like to give you a round of applause, sir. Well done. Congratulations for pointing out the hypocrisy of the modern world, ladies and gentlemen. And that is a message and a lesson to all of us. If you want to be successful, just pretend you're someone you're not. That's the only way to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, be a good motherfucker. Peace in the Middle East. Be extinct. Toodaloo au revoir. Bye-bye.